That's right, Dr. S. We are live and we are on time. And let me know, by the way, today I'm trying something new. I resurrected one of my old microphones, actually. So it's actually up here in the sky. It's not around my neck anymore. This one, I think, picks up sound a little bit better and maybe a little bit clearer. So I'd love to know from y'all if today sounds better than it has been sounding. I think this microphone might be. I'm just testing it out because when I go out to the table, I'm gonna hang one just like this from the ceiling and be like, like on TV where it's like right above my head, so I don't have to worry about the lapel thing. And I think it'll pick up the room better. So anyway, just keep an eye on it for me today, and if it works, it works, and we'll maybe I'll invest in another one moving forward. So all right, well, good morning, welcome to House Edge Live. It's John from ProCraps, soon to be on Casino Gaming Central. I've been working kind of in the evenings now, kind of reorganizing that whole channel. It's a lot. There's almost 1,000 videos there, believe it or not. So I'm kind of moving things around into new playlists. I'm getting the new shows scheduled, getting the icons all done. So it's a lot of work, but we'll get that thing launched pretty soon. So anyway, let's hop into today's show, and we're going to talk today about variance. Again, I started it yesterday, and I have some things to talk about with regards to variance. But I want, again, to frame it all through the simple concept of the bridge. And again, looking at like the pie chart I got there, like everybody's journey is different, right? How much you care about your bankroll, or how much bankroll you have, I should say, and how it marries your strategy and all of that. Your pie chart is different than mine, right? I'm much more disciplined, money management heavy than most people are. Strategy means less to me. It does. Regardless of what you think about my shows, strategy means less than the way that I play with discipline and money management. But all of it works together, right? Today, what I want to focus on is, again, identifying opportunity. Of all the things in the bridge, your bankroll, your risk profile, all of that stuff, right? Discipline's important. But today I want to focus on opportunity. And we've said this a lot in many different ways. I've said the same sort of thing, where variance really kind of determines a lot of the stuff. The bridge, again, is not designed to make you a winner at the casino. And I think my good friend Ken says this a lot. Gambling sucks, and the casino's got you by the balls and all that kind of stuff. It's all true, right? The expected value, by the way, in all games is negative, right? You're gonna lose money over time. There's just no fighting the system, right? That's the way it's going to be. But you are going to experience a wild ride. Now, how much you embrace variance and how you experience the variance in a table really says how wild the ride's going to be. And what I mean by that is this. Let's take roulette as an example, okay? You should see in 38 spins of the wheel, right? You should see 18 reds, 18 blacks, 2 greens, if everything goes according to plan, right? There are many times where no greens come up in 38 rolls. A lot of times that happens, right? So what happens to the greens? They disappear, so something else happens, right? It might be 2 extra reds, 2 extra blacks, right? It might be no greens and you have 5 fewer blacks than you should, which means you have 8 extra reds that show up. That's a variant. That's normal, actually. That's not crazy. That's normal. That happens all the time, right? It makes for a wild ride. If you're betting just on black and you got that extra 8 reds or whatever, your ride kind of sucks. It's kind of bumpy. Now, can you still win when that's happening, right? If you had your 16 blacks all come in a row and then your 18 or 24 reds all come in a row, even though it's an upside down situation, variance wise, you still can make money at it, right? That's where the street betting comes in. Anyway, I think it's all important to realize this, that you're never going to be in a normal situation, right? Let me go back a screen here. And I think we had this talk yesterday, and I want to make sure that I rephrase this one thing because I think it's important. Because I know I ruffled a couple of feathers when I talked about this yesterday. We talked about the idea of dice influence or dice control, and that's, craps is the one game where you've got control of the outcome, or perceived control of the outcome, right? That's the one difference of craps. You don't shuffle the cards in baccarat or blackjack. You don't spin the ball in roulette. You don't touch anything, right? Even in in MIDI, where you get to actually fold the cards out, you don't influence the game. In craps, they give you the thing. They're so confident that they've got you randomness figured out that they give you the dice and let you try, right? And that's what the dice influencers are trying to do. They're trying, because we know, right? Even if you're shaking and baking, right? You are creating variance with what you're doing. You may not have any control over what the variant you created is, but you're going to be outside of the normal 36 rolls and craps. The dice influencers are trying to create variance of their own by setting and by being controlled in their shot. That's all they're doing. They're trying to not control, but they're trying to like direct the variance into their favor. Like by doing what I do, the variant that I see is not going to be a whole bunch of extra 11s while I got the puck on. The variant that I'm going to try and produce is a whole bunch of extra 5s and 9s while the puck is on. Like that's what they're trying to do. This idea of like variance influencing or controlling variance, I think that's a better way of describing the practice of setting and throwing. So I love Duracell coined that phrase a couple weeks back. I love the way, because I like to be accurate with my words. You remember the whole thing with trending and streaks and all that kind of stuff? I like being accurate with definitions, right? I think the using the word trend to describe a variant is wrong. And I think that using the word control or influence to describe what you're doing with the dice, I think is also incorrect, right? Maybe you are trying to influence the way they fly and stuff, but I think in the end, your goal is to create or influence the variant that results from all that. I think that's a really cool way, I think, to kind of sit back and take a look at what we're actually trying to do. So Duracell, thanks for the definition there. And I'm leaning into it. Anyway, let's talk about what variance is today. And I may have time. I don't know if I will have time to get down to my table and do some work with you, but let's talk about it a little bit. And I'll frame it a couple of ways, right? We know that there's always this sort of a holy war between, the gamblers and the math guys, right? And I want to frame it a little bit in this way. The math guys, the way that you hear them speak anyway, right? They may not really believe this or feel this, but the way that they come off is that the objective is to minimize their loss over infinite sessions. You'll always hear them say things like, yeah. If you, like John, if I lose $25 10 times and I win 15 units once, it's no different, right, than me losing, or whatever, losing 15 big units one time and winning a 1 unit, or losing 10 units one time in a martingale and winning 15 units over one by one, right? If I lose a lot and win a little bit, or I lose a little bit and win a lot, at the end, they're both in the same spot, right? That's the math guys, right? Who cares? Over infinite sessions, you end up in the same spot anyway. You're fooling yourselves, right? Their strategy is to play the lowest possible house edge games. Generally speaking, flat bet, ride it out, right? Let the math take it's going to be. And what the outcome is going to be losing the least amount of money in the long run, period. You lose the least amount in the long run. A math guy will never play roulette. A math guy will play the pass line, even without odds, because the house edge is lower. Even though the chance of winning that pass line bet is actually less than winning a bet on red, it's a lower probability to win that bet overall than it is to win on the red. But they'll play that one anyway because the house edge is lower over the course of time. And I say this a lot, like a lot of the math people, and again, I know some math guys that don't play this way, but a lot of them, I say, have kind of flipped the table and given up. They're just going to let it ride, right? Let it ride out. They know they can't win, so they're going to ride it out, and maybe once in a while they walk away a winner. I believe that variance comes into play here. And you say in finite play, in other words, in short sessions with actual bankrolls, right? The shape of that variance matters as much or more than the house edge. If you're losing $1 per 100 on average, fine. But if I win 15 bets in a row and I'm flat betting it the whole time and I don't take advantage of that shape, or if I'm betting $100 a result, or $100 a thing, and we go down, I don't reduce my bets down when it's going bad for me until it starts picking back up again. That shape of the variant, whether it's negative for me or positive for me, matters as much as the house edge of the bets that I'm playing. I think it's a real thing for people to consider, right? And compared to the math person, a gambler plays with a little bit difference, right? Their objective is to win, right? Actually to win, hopefully pretty big on a session, trip, month. If you're doing a daily paycheck, like Ken plays what he calls bump on a pickle, boring strat, they're very low house edge plays, right? The objective is to win and get out, right? the strategy you play matters. I'm not just going to play the pass line with odds, right? You're betting to win. You're playing to win. You're playing with strategic intent to win. And the outcome is either walk away ahead or minimize your damage. That's it, right? The gamblers are looking for something strange to happen. They want to catch it. And sometimes, the way I play, Headless Horseman, right? I'm trying to catch a bad thing and walk away quick. I'm trying to, if not, catch a good thing and stay for a while, right? But irregardless of that, I'm looking for the variant to kind of carry the water for me. The way that I bet, the amount that I bet isn't enough to get me over the hump. Does that make sense? What I'm doing, just the bets I'm bringing, the bankroll I have is not enough ever to overcome the house edge, overcome probability. What you need is the ability to kind of lean in and create opportunity when it goes weird. And it's always weird. And that's the thing I think people don't kind of remember. So to restate that, in a finite session, in a small window, right? A high variant game might give me a better chance of winning than a low house edge game, even though the high variant game has a worse expected value. And that's an important thing. Even though the EV is worse on a 4 and 10 versus the pass line, if I can catch 3 of those before a 7, or 4, actually the probability, if I catch 4 of those before a 7, I'm in a variant that I should have made more money than I should have in. Bye-bye. See you later. Get out. Right? A high variance game can give you a better chance of winning more money, not winning more often, than low house edge games do. And I think that's the truth of the matter when it comes out. So what are we saying when we talk about variance and streak betting and gambling, as it were, right? I'm saying things like I'm currently ahead, right? I'm up. I got into a positive variant and it's great, right? Good for me, right? I should capitalize on that while I have profit, right? While I have profit and I'm cushioned, I should capitalize on it. What does that mean? Lean in, keep on going with your wins, or GTFO. Capitalize on your wins, right? By taking them and walking away, or by using them to lean in to the variant that you find yourself in, or that you've created with your throwing, right? If you're in a hole, stop digging and preserve bankroll, right? What we're not saying is I can predict what's going to happen, right? Variance does not mean trending, which means because a red happened, a red's going to happen again, or because guy threw a 7, he's going to throw a 7 again on the next roll. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying that because you know you're going to be on some kind of a wild ride, right? You can recognize, right? I'm not saying I can predict, and I'm not saying that hot streaks are sticky and will continue. When I talk about streak betting, I'm not saying when I see 2 reds, I know what's going to come. What I'm saying is things tend to happen in clusters. They're either a choppy cluster or it's a static cluster, right? So bet what's happening until it's not happening anymore. That's capitalizing on variance, creating opportunity within it, right? Duracell 8, just win, baby. I love that. I love that. What's the house edge take when you leave with profit? Well, the house edge was still the house edge, right? However, I think what you're getting at here, and the way I say this a lot, is the impact of the house edge is lessened on you. If you recall, I did a show once where we talked about the impact of the house edge. We took the 5. If you win 1,000 fives in your lifetime, right? The house edge of the 1,000 wins. So you're getting paid $14 on a $10 5 instead of 15, right? If you win that bet 1,000 times, the house edge was $1,000. They've taken $1,000 out of your wins, right? You're technically behind $1,000, even though you've won 1,000 bets, which is kind of weird. Which means you have to win that bet 1,000 divided by 15 times, whatever that is. It's 150, whatever the number is. You got to win that many more times to kind of catch up to it. Now, when you're ahead and you walk, that's some of those times. If I win more than I ought to, which means I'm ahead for the session and I leave, I've chipped into their control, right? If they're up $1,000 on me on the 5, let's say that example, I've won 1,000 fives and I'm upside down $1,000 because of the house edge, right, on those 5s. Let's say that today I win $600 at the table. That $600 chips into the amount I'm behind or what I should have won. on that 5. Now, again, you're carrying that water on the 4, 5, 6, 8, for all the numbers. You're upside down thousands on those numbers over the course of your life. So you chip into it as you win. So the house edge doesn't go away, but you can mitigate its effect if you win more often and bug out. I think that's really important, right? That's really important. All right. Ken said, oh, by the way, I'm getting a little note. I can hear, but don't think it's as good as the others. I don't know. I'm still monkeying with it. Like I said, I'm trying to find ways to the thing was, and this is going to be a kind of a side note here, but I went back and listened to a show yesterday, and I'm like, man, my voice sounds really muddy. And one of the things that I was kind of bitching about during the playoffs was, if you guys watch baseball at all, the guy, I don't know, Ken Rosenthal, whoever it was that was in the dugouts, that guy's mic sounded terrible. You couldn't hear him at all. It wasn't crowd noise. It was because they had bad EQ on it or something. So I thought, man, I sound like that. I sound very muddy. That's why I'm changing mics. I think this one's brighter, even if it's not as loud. Anyway, complete aside there. So, all right. So that's the talk on variance, right? The question isn't, how do I win forever? I think this is part of the bridge thing, right? It's not, how do I win forever? We're talking about, how do I maximize my probability of winning right now, or minimizing the damage when it goes ugly? That's what it's all about. Now, how you approach that, I think, is different for everybody, right? You can approach that through modular betting. I'll show you some ideas here on that, or through negative betting. There's ways to approach, how do I win better when I'm winning? How do I lose less when I'm losing? And how do I mitigate when it's going ugly? And I think that the smart player, right, has ways of shifting their bets around, right, so that they have minimal damage when the variant is negative, and it will be sometimes, and maximize their profits when the variant is positive. So let's jump down to hello. Sorry, weird that I muted when I went to the table. It muted. That was crazy. All right, what I was saying was, we're going to use greens and reds, and it doesn't matter what bet I'm making, right? If I'm going to go pass line or don't pass or field or red black roulette, it doesn't matter. Okay, what I'm going to show you here is more ideas on betting patterns. And first thing I'll show you, and I'll remind you of the idea we talked about last week of this kind of midland, sort of start in the middle kind of pattern, right? So if we were to start, let's say, at $40, right, and you're predetermined to use a ladder, and ladders can capture a variant well when you start in the middle. Let's say we're at a $10 table. There's the $10 table. Okay, so on a $10 table, if I start at level 4, $40, 4 times the table minimum, okay, and I win $40, right, and I ladder myself down, right, I have my money back, and I have locked up a profit on that first roll, and I'm coming backwards a little bit. Okay, let's say that I win 30, right, and I regress my bet down to now $20. Well, guess what? Still have my original money. Now I'm 50 in profit. And I'm locking up as the variant goes in my favor. I'm locking up. I'm using only profits to play. And I'm making sure that I have my risk is 0 now, right? So when I win at 20 and I end up at 10, I've got 50, 75, $80, or 2 times what I started with as my profit, right? I've got 200% in profit on those 3 hits, and I'm playing still at table minimum. And now I can employ another way to play, right? Because this is going home. What I started with, what I'm keeping, 2x what I started with. Now I can win and press. I can win and press. I can win and hammer press if I felt like it, right? By starting at a higher point than you wanted to be at, or table minimum, you can do what I have called the Dallas drawdown. That's what I just showed you is no different than the craziest thing I ever did, right? Which was what? 320 across. Remember the craps? 320 across? You guys said, oh my God, John is a fucking maniac, right? 320 across. He's absolutely insane. He's going to get paid $70 on a win, right? And he's going to take half his money down, right? Isn't that the same thing I just kind of showed you, different levels, but it's the same thing. Taking down half my money. And when I get paid again, right? And all that comes back and I go 32 across on a bubble crash machine or on a $5 table, which now are everywhere. I've got money back in my rack. I'm in profit and I'm playing. It's no different. The Dallas drawdown is no different than what I just showed you on the pass line. It's just that the dollar amounts are different and the payments are a little lower. But this gives you a different style of opportunity than just flat same betting. Okay, now let's look at the ladder player on the same thing. $40 on the ladder, right? So here, you might say, I'm going to start in the middle, $10 table, start in the middle. When it's going poorly for me, right, I lose $40. I got to take money out of the rack here, right? So we're going to lose our 40 and go to 50. We're going to lose our 50 and go to 60. We're going to go up a unit as we lose, right? When the 60 pays though, right? We're going to get paid, I'll pay it out of my losses, 50, $60. We're still down 30, right? And I come down again to 50. So I'm still not quite even. But when the $50 pays, there's 30, there's 20 from the bank. Guess what? Back in profit we go, right? We're back in profit by $20 and we can go back and start playing again at the same level. I think when you start in the middle, you give your place a chance to go up and down and capitalize when it's ugly or soft. Starting at table minimum and only going for the 4-leg parlay. And I play this way a lot, so I'm gonna rag on myself here. Starting at table minimum and only shooting for the parlays puts you in a position where, yes, you're going to lose less when you lose. You're going to win a lot when you win. However, you have no place to go, right? So we can analyze those two people. Let's go backwards again. Let's go back to the guy that was here. I'm going to run two simulations for you, right? And we're going to look at a positive variant first, then a negative variant afterwards. $40, right? Wins $40, and it comes down to 30. So I've got my money back, and I've got 10 in profit. That's hit one. Hit number two, wins 30, right? We go down to 20. Now my profit's 50, 5 units. 20 pays 20, looks like 10. Now that is three wins in a row, right? We went from 40 to 30 to 20, and now we're out here at 10. We've got $80 in profit, so we've doubled ourselves up. We have 8 units in profit on 3 hits. Our risk was 40 to get us there. The start low and go high method, again, 10-unit bet, right? $10 is the bet. You take a win and you add to it. We'll do 1, 3, 2, 4. You add to it. Okay, so you're going to be your risk now is, this guy's risk is $20. I'll put his money over here. His risk is 20 in total, right? When that pays, that is a $30 bet, by the way, right? When 30 pays, you go back down to a 2-unit bet. There's your 2-unit bet. And again, we're still $20 in. On the third hit, of course, you're going to be out here for your $20. We don't collect, right? On a 3-leg win, just 3 wins in a row, this guy would lose that third bet. He would have been out here for $20 in total. He's got, let's make this look like reds. There's his 20, and he's got 40 in profit. So he has half the profit of this guy who started out in the middle. His risk was 40, his risk was 20. His profit was double, his profit was half. So that initial risk matters. However, both guys attacked a variant in a different way. This guy went aggressively after it from a low starting point. This guy was passively collecting as it went. Now, the difference with these two players is this. This guy here would have that $80 in profit, which is fantastic, but he's got a $10 bet on hit number 4. He only wins $10 on the 4th hit. This other guy down here, right? He was at 1-3. Now he's at 2. And so when he wins in here, he's winning 20. He's winning twice as much on this next hit, right? He's setting himself up to catch the wave in a much more aggressive way. So after this hit, his profit goes over his. And that's, again, just a way to approach betting patterns in variance. And again, you're never going to be normal. Now, if it goes negative, this guy here is going to lose 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. He's going to lose only $10 every time. When he wins 15. Over here, we're going to lose 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, or 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, right? Then when he wins, he's going to win 80, 70, 60, 50, 40 on his way back down again. This guy here needs to have successive wins to recover in a ladder. This guy here just needs successive wins to profit. So I think both ways are important. Now, what I'm going to do tomorrow, let's go back over here. Tomorrow, what I'm going to do is, let's get over to this screen here and that screen there. Tomorrow, the plan is going to be to take just the concept, right, and drop some dice out here and roll a little bit. And what I want to do with the rolling tomorrow is kind of create some variation. I want to let's pretend we're betting the 4 and 10. Let's pretend we're betting the pass line, and we'll just count how many times in the rolls that we get have we exceeded expectations, or have we been below expectations on those things? And what would it look like for you if you were in that world? And how can you change your betting patterns in that moment to take advantage of it? And again, taking advantage of it doesn't mean I'm catching a trend and I'm going to bet the trend. Catching or taking advantage of it might mean I'm getting my ass handed to me, and instead of betting 40, I'm going to bet 10 for a while and go, come on down and bet my 10. Ride out the shit until I start winning and then coming up. Okay. All right. Tom says a ladder does nullifies a variant, takes advantage of it too. It does both. However, the problem with ladders, the biggest problem with ladders is what? You can tell me, and you know what I'm going to say. What's the problem with a ladder? And again, we know ladders can get hammered. It only takes 6, 7, or 8 losses in a row, which happens, to wipe a ladder out. And bankroll is the key, right? Remember, like, think about it. The casino is technically playing a ladder against you with an infinite bankroll. You can't survive it. When it does go south, you can't survive it. So the ladder plays, and I think Ken showed this, if I'm not mistaken, when we did the retirement plan, right? What was the retirement plan, Ken? Was it 97 and 0 or 96 and 0? You're here still, right? Was it 96 and 0 or 97? I thought it was 98. It doesn't matter. It was 98 and 0, right? 98 wins of about $100. Some of them were 200, some of them were 150, but you're in that range, right? Let's call him $100. If it was 98 $100 wins, that's $9,800 with a $10,000 bankroll. The one time that it went south, lost $10,000, right? So you're upside down $200. Now I know in that series, Ken won more than that. He didn't lose money because he won $300, $400, $500 sometimes. So he wasn't always winning 100. But if the goal is $100 and walk, $100 and walk, $100 and walk, if that's the goal, the one time that it goes ugly, it wipes it all out, right? So ladder can nullify the variant in the short runs, and it does a great job of up and down, and you're kind of going to be okay. When it goes south, the ladders will nuke a bankroll, and if you don't have the bankroll to survive that, you're going to be in a world of hurt. Now, in Ken's situation, right, he had, again, a fake $100,000 master bankroll. He put 10,000 of it at risk, and for 96 sessions, he won and won and won. And all that time, he's going out to dinner, he's taking his wife shopping, he's making the car payment, he's putting new tires on the car, right? You're using that money all the way through. So he kind of laundered the money, so to speak, right? And in the end, he lost 10K, not a big deal. He starts again with another 10,000 out of the 100, and that's how you go for it, right? The envelope system made up for that big loss because, again, you won more than $100. I'm just giving a super tight example of it. So yeah, the laddering can work. However, without the bankroll to back the ladder, you're in a world of hurt. If you would have lost that $10,000 on the second session instead of the 97th session, that is a whole different series. The strategy looked at in a whole different way had that loss come on the second day versus the 97th day. You follow what I'm saying? That's going to come. You just don't know when it's going to come. So while it's going your way, beat them up. Find the best way to beat them up. What I showed you there, going from 40 to 30 to 20 to 10, that's the Dallas drawdown on the pass line, right? 4 levels backwards on the wins, doubles up your initial risk, and that's a great way to get going if you can afford to start in the middle. If you can't afford to start in the middle, you start at the bottom, let it run up. Let it run up. Collecting in the variant is as important as betting. 100%. You got to collect. You got to collect. That's why I like the 1, 3, 2, 4 better than the 1, 2, 3, 4 or the 1, 2, 4, 8. Okay. And I can do you a quick example, right? The 1, 3, 2, 4, right? Bet 1, win 1, add 1, win 3. So on your third hit, right? You're taking this back. There's your initial money, your 2 units that you put at risk. You lock up 2 and you're playing with 2. I like that because if you're not collecting when it's going well, you're in a world of hurt. If you're going to go from 1 and collect and go to 2 and then collect and go to 4 and then pray that you can collect, you're never collecting on 1, 2, or 3 hits. You're only waiting for the monster to happen, right? Now I play blackjack this way because blackjack is so streaky. You get 4 in a row all the time. So I'm trying for this craziness here. But yeah, if you're not collecting as you're going and you're only going to be 4 hits or bust, you're going to have a tough time. Not going to lie. I enjoy playing that way though. That to me is the funnest way for me to go at it because I just enjoy. All right. Why when I go to this table, this view here, do I get muted? That's weird. The microphone wants to kick itself off sometimes. Anyway, all right, let's get on out of here. Let me close up shop again with our quote of the week here, and I think this is again a good one for life. And I can wear this, of course, like I do. We judge ourselves by our good intentions, right? And I always try and think my intention here is always to teach. My intention here is always to give you food for thought. My intention here is not to give you the answer, right? It's to give you things to think about, right? My intention is not to piss the math guys off. My intention is not to piss off the DIs. My intention is to give you another way to classify what dice influence is. Give you another way to classify how you're seeing what's happening in front of you and understand it, okay? But we're judged by our... Did I spell something wrong? What did I spell wrong? We're judged by our Latin. Oh, you did it. Okay, you did. But we're judged by our last action, right? So a good example is yesterday. I was trying to explain Duracell's, VI, variance influence, or creating variant idea or way of explaining what dice controller guys are trying to do. I misspoke, right? I'm judged by my peers on how I said that, and they're like, "That you kind of made me feel like I got it wrong." Right. So again, I think I'm doing what I want. If my intentions are strong, my actions maybe aren't. And I think that happens to us all the time, not just on my show, but you raising your kids, you talking to your wife or your husband, whatever that happens at work happens all the time. So make sure that you're aware of that, right? You intend to do a thing. How did it actually go? And how did you respond when it went? I think it's important. I think it's important to make sure that even though you are judged by your last action, you can own your last action. And that's an important thing. So there it is. My final thoughts for today. I will see y'all tomorrow. Happy hump day, everybody. Or happy Tuesday, everybody. See you on hump day tomorrow. We'll get some dice rolled out here. We'll look at some variants and we'll talk through what we're seeing kind of as we're seeing it. Have a great one. I'll talk to you in the morning. Love y'all. God bless.